By the time you reach adulthood, you are expected to be competent in two domains above almost all others: money and sex. Your financial decisions will shape the entire arc of your material life, and your relationship to your sexuality and to your body will shape the entire arc of your intimate life. And yet, these are the two subjects you are most firmly instructed never to discuss. Not with your family, not with your friends, I mean, unless you feel really safe, and certainly not in mixed company. The prohibition is so internalized that most people feel it as instinct rather than conditioning. The tightening in the chest when a conversation edges too close to actual numbers, the deflection when someone asks something too direct about your body or sex in general, or saying whatever you can to appear normal, whatever normal is in the company that you are currently having the conversation in. The managed vagueness that passes for discretion, but is actually something much closer to shame. This is one of the primary reasons so many businesses stay small, fragile, and more exhausted than they need to actually be. This taboo is not simply social convention, it is a mechanism of control, and it works by making the prohibited thing, whether that's money or that's sex, feel dangerous to approach, let alone to actually name. When something is taboo, the silence around it is not empty. It's loaded with implication. And to break the silence, you're risking your belonging or your reputation. And that's too scary and too dangerous for most people to broach. Money and sex show your vulnerability in a very raw way. Both reveal something about who you actually are beneath the performance of who you're supposed to be. And your relationship with money tells the truth about your fears, your wounds, your sense of your own worth, and what you believe you are permitted to have. Your relationship with your body and your sexuality tells the truth about your boundaries, your pleasure, your capacity to receive, and what you have learned to suppress in order to be acceptable. Keeping both topics shrouded in silence does not actually protect anyone. It protects the structures that benefit from you not knowing, not asking, and not comparing notes with anyone who might expand what you understand to be possible. The common understanding of why money and sex are difficult to discuss is that they are uncomfortable, which is true, but it's the smallest part of what is actually going on. Silence around money compounds every decision you make without adequate information, without the context of how others navigate similar terrain, without the vocabulary to even name what you're experiencing as a decision made in the dark. The patterns that form in the darkness don't simply live there. They organize your relationship with pricing, with receiving payment, with what you charge, and whether you can hold it without immediately undermining it. They shape how visible you allow yourself to become, how much you let yourself want, how quickly you retreat when expansion starts to feel threatening. The silence around sex and around your body compounds in the same way and often in the same places. The entrepreneur who has learned to disconnect from her body's signals, who has been taught that her pleasure is frivolous or dangerous, who has internalized that her desires are something to manage rather than something to listen to, brings that disconnection directly into her business. It shows up in the inability to charge what her worth is actually worth. It shows up in chronic over-delivering and the difficulty of receiving without immediately giving something back. It shows up in visibility terror, in the bracing that happens when she's truly seen. Employment often has a buffer between your inner life and your material outcomes. A salary arrives regardless of what is happening inside you. Entrepreneurship, though, does not offer that buffer. What is happening in your relationship with money, with worth, with your body and your desire and your capacity to receive express itself directly in what you create, what you price, what you attract, and what you sustain. This is why that boardroom to bedroom framework that is created through Humanitarian Entrepreneur exists as a single framework and not two separate conversations. The boardroom and the bedroom are not different territories. They're the same territory governed by the same conditioning, shaped by the same cultural instructions about what you are permitted to want and what you are permitted to claim. The entrepreneur who cannot talk about money with her peers is often the same entrepreneur who cannot talk about her body's needs with her partner. The silence reinforces each other. And together, they keep the business exactly as contained and constrained as the woman running it has been taught to be. Integration is not a soft concept, it's a strategic one. When you begin to bring your actual relationship with money into consciousness, to name it, to examine it and understand where it came from, you are doing the same work as when you begin to bring your actual relationship with your body into consciousness. Both require you to look at what you've been taught to hide. Both ask you to develop a tolerance for being known, even partially, even to yourself. Both are forms of the same essential practice, refusing to let the silence run the show any longer. Breaking the silence does not mean performing transparency you do not actually feel. It does not mean posting your income publicly if that's not with what you are aligned with. It does not mean discussing your intimate life with your newsletter list. Discretion is not the enemy, it's silence. The distinction matters. Discretion is a choice made from values and genuine preferences. Silence is a reflex shaped by shame, by the fear of judgment, by the internalized voice that told you these were topics that were too dangerous, too tacky, too exposing to even approach. Discretion leaves you in relationship with this topic. Silence cuts you off from it entirely. What breaking the silence actually looks like is allowing you to know your numbers in full, whether that's your body count, whether that is your actual what's on the books, but fully knowing that without the habitual anxiety that makes you look away. It looks like having at least one conversation with someone you trust where the real figures are on the table and no one is managing anyone's discomfort. It looks like noticing where your body registers contraction around money, becoming curious about that contraction rather than just overriding it. It looks like treating your relationship with your own financial life with the same seriousness and compassion you would bring to any other area of deep personal work. And it looks like recognizing with some firmness that the cultural instinction to stay silent about both money and sex was never designed with your liberation in mind. It was designed with your compliance in mind. Refusing that compliance, even quietly, even privately, even in the smallest increments, is one of the most genuinely radical things a conscious entrepreneur can do. If you want more resources or tools, check out the links in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.